What is up, entrepreneurs, creators? Welcome back to the YouTube channel that is Diana Gladney. And if you are new here, welcome to the stream. If you're watching the replay, thanks for being here. Today, we're taking a look at the brand new Sony Trio, the 11mm f1.8 lens. We got all three in the office courtesy of Sony. Thank you so much for sending ththese over. In addition to the A7 IV, A7C, and all the rest of the gear, we got the 15mm G lens, the f1.4. We all know what this is about. Okay, that Sigma 16 must have been hitting a little bit too hard because it's been out for quite some time, but I'm glad we have that. And then, of course, an update to the brand new 10-20 G lens, still an f4. This is a power zoom lens, so it has a little zoom rocker on there. We'll be popping those on the ZV-E10, which I have set up as another angle as well for this stream, so that we can go through, get any questions that you all have. We do have a lot of videos coming out on this. The other video that I just dropped on the channel, that was before they arrived, and literally the next day they came in the mail. So here we are. So I'm pumped and excited to be here with you, pumped and excited to get started looking at these lenses, any questions that you all have and the like. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and put a Q colon or Q colon. And then from there, helps it to be easier to, go through the comments if it starts to get like super busy. But it's been a minute since we've been on the stream, but let's go ahead and see what fam we got in the building. We have Mr. Camera Junkie, good to see you. Glad that you are here. Let's go ahead and get you nice and proper. There you go. Mr. Dean Detton, good to see you. Glad that you are here. Glad that you are here. Getting y'all in the good. What do you call it? I don't know. Can't think of the word that I was thinking of, but glad y'all in the spirit, right? What's up, Gordon? Good to see you. Saying, all right, let's get it. I broke down and bought the 10-18. Now I got 3 new ones. Hey man, all I can say is these lenses are amazing. Number one, like when you take a look at them, they're small. So of course I have the original 10-18 too. I've had this lens for a while. It does, extend up as you're zooming, which the other one, like for people that wanted to put these on gimbals, which is what most people have been doing, it's not working out so well, right? So when you put it on a gimbal and you extend it out, even though it's very, very, very small, it still throws it off. So, and I had the Zhiyun Crane M2. I had that for a little while, and you would put something like this on here. And honestly, this is a relatively short, small lens, but compare that to the new one, it's even smaller, right? Even smaller. And as you zoom, this one does not extend. So it has the power zoom on there. So that's clearly for gimbals. This one has optical steady shot. This one does not. This one is still at f4. This one is also. This one extends. This one doesn't. So if you already have this one, and I did see that this dropped in price from original price being $899 on the 10-18 to, since this one is still like $899 or $749. Actually, this one dropped in price, which is honestly nice because I've never seen this drop in price. You just have to buy it used, and then from there, then you would get it. But we'll see. But just to go ahead, let's start this off proper with the, let me make sure I get my other camera over here. All right, cool. So we have right channel, this in Hessen. This as a standard test, and again, I am very, very close. I can't even extend my arm out, so I honestly could touch the lens. So this right here, just as a standard, this is the Sigma 16, and this is what made this lens so amazing for a lot of people, is because you could be super close and still be super wide. Now, if I wanted, I could adjust it and, move this so that you get more of the bookshelves and all of that in the background, but we're just gonna work with this different angle so it's easier to swap the lenses out. So the first one out here in these streets that I think is very, very interesting is the fact that this new 15G here, this f1.4, is in direct comparison to the Sigma 16. So take all of this wonderful goodness in. Let me go ahead and actually, I want to put on product showcase mode really quickly, just because I want y'all to see some of the differences. And I do have a little adapter on there from some filters, that magnetic filters that Freewell sent over. So that'll be also in an upcoming video and stuff. It's a lot of content. We doing a lot. Plus, real quick, before we dive way into the nitty gritty, all the camera stuff, we have a how to plan, record, and edit a YouTube video from scratch, from start. I'm going to be sharing with you the video planning guide that I created and that we've been using for a really long time already in the company, but making this publicly available. Furthermore, what we're going to be doing is that's going to be premiered out, so that way I can be in the chat and answering any questions that you all have. But it is an exhaustive training. It's broken down into those various different parts, from planning, recording, and editing your content. And it is a full walkthrough. And so that video, I'm doing the final, which should be the final revision today, and approving it so we can get that going and uploading. So look forward to that next week. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it'll be fully ready. But again, because it is so long, we're going to be premiering that live. So that way, again, I can be in the chat answering any questions. And then for those of you that catch it on the replay, then you'd see it then. So FYI, keep your eye out for that. I said something about that on the stories. It's just because of how dense this master class is. And you won't have to sign up for it. It'll just be live on the channel. But just because of how dense it is, it's just going to take a minute to get all the little nitty gritty pieces done. But that way you can sign up, get the guide, and follow along so you can plan, record, and edit your content more efficiently and effectively for your business and your brand. Let's move over to, again, this is just our baseline test, just because we know that the other lenses are going to be competing with that, specifically the 15G. Okay, so this one has a 55mm filter thread, which is what you see this number here, right here. Make sure I get that. It's upside down, but 55mm thread. This one that I really like, it has an aperture ring. So if you turn the ring away from that A to something else, like you manually adjust, this clicks. All right, make sure I'm trying to get this. I'm a little off. Here we go. So this clicks. You won't really be able to hear it, but it feels nice in the hand. But if you want to use, like you usually would on your cameras, and adjust the aperture or the f-stop or that f number on your camera, you would need to put that into this A right here. Otherwise, you're going to think something's wrong with the lens or something's wrong with the camera, and it's not. It literally just needs to be put into the A, and then from there you can adjust electronically your aperture for this one. And it does have a button on the side, not just the manual focus, autofocus, but you'll also have this button right here, and we'll talk about that in the upcoming video on some of the 5 helpful ways. I think I did like 5 or 7 different ways that you can use that. I don't do a lot of photography, so there's really not a whole lot of need for that, but this is the Sigma 16, so your baseline tests. So while we get that swapped out, we'll go ahead and switch to this angle so you're not blinded into the infinity, and swap out the Sigma 16, put on the 15G. These lenses is something serious business out here in these streets. All right, now let's switch back over to, this is the 15G lens f1.4, a fantastic lens if I do say so myself, and honestly, way smaller, way lighter, like significantly lighter than this here. This is a boss lens. It's incredible. I have no qualms with it other than it's heavy, but I said that from day one. But this lens is amazing. But this lens right here, the 15G f1.4, direct competitor to this one. Now, the fact that it's lighter already, like it's an easy throw in the bag. Now, my buddy Kurt Nugent, some of y'all are subscribed to Kurt. He actually, I got a chance, he just got into town earlier this week, or maybe over the weekend or something. But I was able to meet him, his wife, and their beautiful children. And I had literally just gotten the package, and I'm like, Kurt, guess what? We got the lenses. And so he got a chance to try those out. And so he can tell you himself from getting a chance to try them out for a bit, they are very much so, very light. Real quick, let's jump into the chat. Saying Sony got tired of Sigma being their #1 recommended lens. That is kind of, you know what I'm saying? It makes you feel some kind of way, I would imagine. I mean, we have been asking for APS-C lenses for the longest. If you're new here, I do this a lot in the videos. My lip's too big to be out here in these streets bad like that, all right? It's just very chill, very laid back stream. But we're taking a look at the lenses today. Saying, which one should I add? Well, Gordon, I would say, what do you need? What are your wants with your gear, with your equipment, and the like? What do you want, you know, with your gear? So if you need a live streaming lens, this is going to be the go-to. I think, here's the thing. These lenses are on pre-order right now, but you got to be thinking ahead. These lenses, honestly, because this dropped down in price recently, the Sigma 16. So because this went down in price, you're now going to be able to find those Sigma lenses maybe in the high 200s, 250 if somebody's just trying to offset like a quick sale or something like that. So if you've had the Sigma 16 for a while, or you've been looking at getting a Sigma 16, you're going to be able to find these cheaper. This new 15G lens is not necessarily like a G Master lens, the GM lens. That's the difference. On some of the Sony lenses, you'll see G and M. That's for G Master. This is a G lens, just like a step right underneath. You honestly can't tell much of the difference other than it's just like exceptional glass quality. But using a G lens, you have the button on the side, which is really nice, that you'll see with some of these other ones, like my personal favorite, we'll get into this button right here. You can customize that, and you'll see this in your cameras. Even if you went through any camera menu setups, you'll see that you can customize that. So what I personally think this lens would do well is, for one, you have to think consistency in the look. When you switch from a third-party lens to like Sony native lenses, they're built for the Sony cameras specifically. It's not a matter of autofocus, because that's why I said I put the product showcase on. And if you go back from a second ago, autofocus isn't an issue here. So I think they're neck and neck with that. I would have to literally do side-by-side tests to see, you put two objects up with the two different cameras and see which one does better. But what's interesting is, unless you got the product showcase mode in the ZV-E10, there's literally no other APS-C cameras that can do that yet. And I'm saying yet with an asterisk, because my hope is that we see a high-end APS-C camera come out. But I think what we're looking at is the A7R Mark IV, A7R Mark IV. That's going to be the next one to come out. Then maybe an A7C Mark II, which is what I'm going to be looking at, most interested to see what they put in that camera. Then maybe a high-end APS-C camera. But I can't see it coming before those other two. But I could be wrong, and I hope I am. So we're looking at right now the 15G f1.4 lens. But if you're looking for something with that button on the side for customization, if you're going to get into other stuff like you popping it off of the camera, is going to be super helpful. What's interesting is, like I said, these lenses are made for APS-C. Can you put them on full frame cameras? Yes. Will you want to? Absolutely. Because it's a video that I just looked at yesterday. It's not out just yet, but I was comparing like APS-C versus full frame. For me personally, APS-C is just where I vibe at. I love it. It's small, it's lightweight. It does all of the things quality-wise that I personally need, want, whatever. I haven't even maxed the capabilities of these cameras. So honestly, 10-bit is nice. Yes, I want access to it because it makes sense when you are getting into more projects that are, you need greater range with your color scope, if you will. However, I'm not hitting the ceiling yet. You know what I'm saying? So some people just want consistency along with their other full frame cameras. That's cool. For me, APS-C is where I want to be. But I don't think these lenses are only made for APS-C, because if I still had the A7 IV in the office, I had to send that back to Sony. If I still had that in the office, this is what these lenses would really thrive at. Because none of these have optical steady shot, which is fine if you're flying these on a gimbal or they're sitting on a tripod. But if you do want to use it for vlogging, you need something that's wider. Enter the 11mm f1.8. Now this one, my personal favorite. 55 millimeter thread on the front there. Has the button on the side, and then just the switch for the manual focus, autofocus. No aperture ring or anything like that. And this is, I think, the best lens out the bunch. If you need to add something, it's going to be the 11, and we'll switch over to that in just a second. But Gordon, like I said, based on your question, it just depends on what you what your needs are. Let me go through the chat real quick. What's up, AM1? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Sammy Superstar, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Dinah has the new Sony lens. Yes, courtesy of Sony. They sent those over. Vladimir, good to see you. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Why don't most APS-C cameras have 4K 60? What do you think? Even mini full frames, the A7C, for example. So here's my assumption in the market. And then this is coming from also me that's nerdy enough to follow the trends and all of the market when it comes to the cameras and stuff like that for the last 5 to 6 years. When you look at what a lot of the companies are doing, I think we might now, maybe. The reason why I said I'm looking at the A7C is not because I want to go to full frame, but my expectation is if we have 4K 60 in a crop mode on the A7 IV, we already have the Sony A7, we already have the Sony A7S III that has 4K 120. So that one's like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or somewhere in the ballpark of like 3,000, maybe 35-ish, $100 and some change for that camera. That's fine. Okay, so let's say you $3,000 or so for the A7S Mark III, $2,500 for the A7 IV. That used to be the entry level full frame camera, again, coming from the A7 III. When we look at what's been happening when the A7C came out, now that adds a new tier. So that means whatever would have been all put into the A7 IV has to be split between the two. So when the A7C comes out, again, these are all my predictions. I don't know anything. Sony hasn't told me anything or anything like that. I don't have any rumors getting sent to me, none of that stuff. It's just my assumptions of what looks to make the most sense business-wise, market-wise, and just what companies tend to do the most. And I hope that I'm wrong and that they surprise us all. But if the 4K 60 is at a crop mode at the $2,500 range in the A7 IV, in the Sony A7 IV, yeah, we will probably see 4K 60 in the A7C. We probably won't see all those features that we may see in the A7 IV. It doesn't make sense to have two cameras with the exact same stuff in there. So the A7C is going to take a hit. It already has the different body design that's similar to the ZV-E10, which you're looking at right now, but it may have 4K 60 at another crop, which when you put a full frame lens on that camera and you want to do 4K 60, that whatever lens that you have, let's say a 16-35, is no longer a 16-35. It becomes the equivalent of whatever it is on APS-C. Like I said, which is why these are more important for full frame cameras like that than they are so much so for the APS-C range. This is my assumption. So I don't think most people are worried about APS-C because honestly, most of the market has come from full frame photographers that started doing video. Now we have hybrid cameras, so they have to have both in them for the most part. They may lean heavily one or the other, like the A7R line, photography, A7S line, video, just the A7 IV, hybrid, a little bit of both, but not quite as much as the other two. So we're not gonna see 4K 60 like that, like without a crop, for example. If the A7 IV has it, the A7C is gonna have, A7C Mark II, that is, my assumption, is gonna have a crop too in 4K 60. Hope not more than what we already have in the A7 IV, but that's my assumption. So if a high-end APS-C camera come out, it's gonna have even less. I can't see them doing both because now we have too many cameras in the lineup. So honestly, the ZV line, in my opinion, like the ZV-E10, one of my favorite cameras, one that I use more than the A6600 now, I think we're going to start seeing that ZV line be your content creator's camera. So any other stuff that you would need, more so in there. But another one of these, A6600 for reals, I don't think we're really going to see another high-end APS-C because you can just go to the A7C, which is what I think Sony really wants their users to do. If you want more, go A7 IV, go to the respective photography or video sides or something like that. Again, that's my opinion. What's up, Purple Paisley Planner? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Smash the like button. Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yurt India is in the building. So it was popping, fam. So glad I signed up to be notified. I'm here for this. What's up, Mountain of Inspiration? Good to see you. Glad that you here. Saying nice. I've been looking at these. Yeah, 100%. Saying claps to that you got to meet Kurt. Yeah, Kurt is in town right now. Question: do you have any filters on the Sigma 16? No filters. This is just a little bit different than what we usually use for our regular profiles. But there's no filters, no nothing on the lens. What you did see is part of a Freewell setup. That's what that is. So if I take this off, that's part of the magnetic system that Freewell sent over. So this becomes the base. So more about that in an upcoming video. Because with these lenses in now, it's going to make even more sense, which is why you haven't seen it on the channel yet. But that's what you saw, like the little red ring and the extra bit on there for. Let's see. I love that Sigma 16. It's so sharp. Yeah, it's super sharp. Like, again, let's take a look here. See the ring. Let's put the product showcase mode back on. Minimum focusing distance, about right. Let's do the body. Relatively close. So minimum focusing distance is still pretty good. So it's not bad on this lens comparative to the Sigma 16. So if you scroll back in the stream, you can see what that was. So we get 1 extra millimeter. So it's wider and still an f1.4, still super sharp. And I don't know which, let's see which one has the closer minimum focusing distance right now. That one has 0.20 meters. This one is, if they say it on here. Yeah, they don't put it on the lens for here, but I don't know. Only difference right now on the front of the lens, different filter thread. This lens is smaller, the 15G. All right, let's swap to the 11 millimeter f1.8, even wider. So take notice of what you see on the sides and the whatnot. Let me switch out of product showcase mode. Take notice of what you see on the sides. You're just getting a little bit of the bookshelf. Back there, just, well, you can kind of see what the edges are, but you're not past into the other curtain here. So let's swap over to the 11 millimeter 1.8 real quick. So we're gonna swap back over to my trusty 35 real quick. Like, make sure I put all the lens caps and whatnot, because I ain't about that life of messing up nobody's stuff. Let's pop on the 11. All right. Now, one thing I do want to show y'all real quick. So let's switch over to the 11. Now you can see way more. So it did get a little bit darker because this is an f1.8. So I had to adjust the exposure just a smidge. Yeah, that's fine. So now way wider, way wider. You can see way more over there. And you did lose just a smidge on the aperture. So it's not an f1.4 like with this lens. Put this back on here. Product showcase mode enabled. So this one, super wide, but similar to the Sigma 16, just a 1 millimeter extra. So take a look at this one. Let me see how close we can get. This is very, very, minimum focusing distance on this one is crazy. So about there before it goes out of focus. So somewhere about there. That's pretty much touching the lens. So the minimum focusing distance on the 11 millimeter, it's barring a little bit. Like that's crazy. And y'all can't tell just how close this, like, I mean, a smidge of a difference. Like it's very, very close. So if you need to get some close-up shots or something like that, even that'll make for some nice thumbnails. So we're now looking at the 11 millimeter f1.8 lens, but let me take this filter thread off of this Sigma 16 so y'all can see the difference. Taking a look at these two lenses, This is your difference between the Sigma 16, make sure it's somewhat even, Sigma 16 and the 15G lens. And this one is way heavier, smaller diameter on the front. So it's not much, it's not as much glass, it's not as large here, because Sigma and Tamara is not as bad, but Sigma lenses are just traditionally heavy, but a much smaller, lighter glass. But this one has that button right there. Like I said, when y'all see that video, it's a beast. And I liked it. Again, you have the aperture ring on the G lens. So which one would you want to put in your kit? Easily the lighter one. You can always still use clear image zoom if you need to get back more. But again, 11 millimeters, you for real need to go wide. Again, this is why I think this lens is going to be the hot seller. I think this lens over the other ones is going to be the big seller. Let's see here. Kombucha, good to see you. Saying I'm late, but hey y'all. Saying sorry if this has been asked. Do these lenses have built-in stabilization? That's something that the Sigma lacks if you don't have in-body stabilization on the camera. No. And so here's the kicker. None of the new ones have stabilization in them, which is, I get they were going for sharp and lightweight, all sub $1,000, even honestly sub $800-900 US. That is, it may be different in different countries, but all of these lenses are honestly kind of crazy when it comes to not having stabilization. None of them have them, which I think for like, if they were going to do it, my hope would have been still an 11 millimeter f1.8 that's small like this, small like these other ones are. Like this is the 10 to 20 here, and this is the 15. I still would have wanted to have a small set of lenses, but something with optical steady shot. So if we compare the one that does, which it does extend out when you're zooming, this is the original 10 to 18, and you can see how much, which is not much when you extend the lens out. This one is a power zoom, so it doesn't have any of that, but this is about the difference here. So it's not, I don't think it would have been much to add it to one of these lenses. Again, I don't know how they make these specifically or all the technologies. I'm sure Gerald Undone knows, but I would have wanted to have these with optical steady shot, especially the 11 millimeter, super wide, lightweight. So here's the kicker. So this is without any stabilization. If you are using the ZV-E10, let's go here. So now this is with no stabilization, and now this is with active stabilization. So that's how much of a difference that you're going to have when you're going from, especially if you're using on the ZV-E10, this is the only interchangeable lens camera that they have in the APS-C lineup that has digital stabilization for you to honestly use these, or if you have the A6600 that has the IBIS in it. So if you have this one, and you have the built-in stabilization for the IBIS and whatnot, again, tests and stuff and videos on all these are going to be coming out on the channel. Then at that point, you know what I'm saying, you can get it. But this is the difference from active to no stabilization. It's a pretty significant difference. That's off. And you can see all the way over to the bookshelf over there, almost to the edge of the bookshelf even, to just a smidge of the corner right there. So that's the difference if you're going to switch from active to, like, from no stabilization, basically a gimbal or nothing. Even if you put it on the camera and you have just the IBIS working, then you can stay at this widest angle here at 11 millimeters. Again, f1.8. So this is not, it's not going to go down as low as the f1.4, like the Sigma 16, like the 15G. But if you really need like a wide angle, sharp, low aperture lens, this is cool. My opinion. I have not tried the Rokinon or the Samyang lenses that this would be competing with, because I think they have a 12 millimeter f2 lens or something like that, or what have you. But yeah, saying the A7C Mark II. That's my hope. Saying, well, I better start saving for the trio for the Sony lenses. Hey man, y'all better talk to y'all wives and significant others and the like. Don't have them coming at me. Let's take a look at slide back over here, for example, for real quick, because I want to see for these, because I'm curious what the Samyang pricing is for these on Amazon, because what's been happening lately prices went down on a lot of these Sony APS-C lenses when these came out, which is honestly very, very, very nice. I appreciate that. So even if you wanted maybe some of these other ones, now would be a good time to start taking a look. All right, let's go to this and Hisson. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna pull up these lenses. I just want to see what are the current prices for like the Rokinon and the like, and just see like, is it as cheap as we like, as we hope that they are going to drop to now, or what? But let's see here. There we go. Let's see what other. See, unfortunately, none of these lenses have OSS kombucha. None of them. Which I think honestly is, in some respects for this, is a miss, because we have the current lineup A6400, A6600, ZV-E10, A6100, and then any of the older ones like the A6000, 6300, and 6500. And only the 65 of those had stabilization. So we only have one camera that has, we only have one camera, which is the ZV-E10 that has digital stabilization. And then we have one camera current with the Z battery that has unlimited recording and has IBIS, which is the A6600. But you could probably get an A6500 if you wanted to. It's just not something I personally would recommend. So, let's see, Sony 12mm f2. All right, so here it is, the Rokinon 12mm f2 that has autofocus 349, which is this lens right here. So if you did want to have one of the Sony cameras that is like, if you're looking and budget is an issue, then this is going to be the next go-to, which is a little bit still, I don't know if they're heavy compared to one of the, I know they made these lenses to be the lightest, but if you're looking for the cheapest, you're going to save about roughly 200-ish, not including taxes, if you went with the Rokinon 12mm f2 instead of f1.8. It's an f2. Instead of 11mm, it's a 12. So this one, this 11mm is what this is in comparison with. When it comes to this one, I have not had the opportunity to try this one. Some people like it from what I hear, but this is not something that I've personally have tried. Now here, right here, you see this 0.2 meters and the 0.66 feet or whatever. That's the minimum focusing distance of a lens. Now on the 11mm, it's 0.15 meters. So this one gets, that one gets not as close, but still pretty good. So let's look up that one. This is the Sony, just so y'all can see what I'm talking about. 11mm f1.8. And these are still currently on pre-order. Should be able to get them right now. But this is the new lens that we're looking at on the other angle. They do not have a front facing image, which is weird. Somebody didn't do their job. But basically down here, like you see, it's the 0.15 meters. That's always going to be the minimum focusing distance on your lens. So how close can you get before whatever is close to it is not in focus? So sometimes when I see like some people are like, my lens isn't focusing, I'm like, send me a clip or something like that on Instagram. Your lens is fine. You're too close for some of the lenses, like for the minimum focusing distance. So that's how you know what it would be on your camera. Let's see here. See, I think people are sleeping on the Sony Catalyst Browse. Yes. Yeah. But here's the thing. It's not even like a sleeping on it, because I showed that in the last video that we posted on the channel, like just walking around, and I was walking downhill. So I'm walking downhill and I'm still trying to hold it. Plus I had it like extended out on some kind of tripod thing or whatever that I was using from Ulanzi. And so that one, the way that was set up, when we turned Catalyst Browse on, that was only at about 20% or so. So it crops in a little bit, but not as much as if you just turned on active stabilization. The problem is if you have a lot of vlog footage, or you're a travel vlogger or something like that, you honestly, like, Catalyst Browse is free for those that aren't aware. I'll pull up and I've talked about this in other videos. We just haven't done the tutorial on how to use it, but it makes more sense now that we have these to go ahead and throw out that tutorial. So we'll be doing that one on the channel. You'll see that. Try to get that one out this week because I think that'll be easy. The Sony Catalyst Browse, let's pull that up. But when you do the Catalyst Browse, that's stabilization that you're adding after the fact. Is using that gyro data from it moving or whatever, the sensor and image and all that stuff is a bunch of technology that don't make sense in my brain, but they put it together in the computer so that it stabilizes it, and you can increase how much stabilization that you want and you can decrease it. What I like about it is it doesn't take much for it to stabilize the footage. So when you look at the video that we just did on the channel, honestly, it looks better with Catalyst Browse than if you just leave it on standard stabilization, let's say on the 10 to 20 millimeter. But if you don't know, if you have the ZV-E10 or the ZV-1, you have access to the Sony Catalyst Browse or the Sony A7 IV. I think the A7C has it currently, but it would have to be one of the recent cameras that uses it. Same vlogging, so that's what's up next, 11 millimeter. Yeah, for vlogging, if that's your go-to, right here, this is what you're going to be going for. It's super wide, but again, take this into an account how wide this image is right now. Now, when I switch on to, this is no stabilization, so with Catalyst Browse, for it to work, it has to be off in the camera or set to active. If you have it on standard stabilization, if you do have a lens like this 10 to 18, if you do have a lens with optical steady shot on it and you have standard on in the camera in the ZV-E10, you can't use Catalyst Browse. There's no gyro data recorded at that point. So it either has to be off or it has to be in active. The problem with active is you lose all of the information from outside of the scope of the image at this point. So if the camera's not seeing it, it's not like, oh, we saw this over here, we just didn't show you or record. No, it don't work like that. So if you have active on and this is all that you're capturing, you can add Catalyst Browse to this after the fact, but my recommendation, go ahead and just leave it off. In my testing and experimenting and using it, it works better just to leave it off. Don't be throwing the camera all over the place, obviously, because it will be hella light. But then that way, when you crop in, it's only a smidge. It's not as much. But yeah, so this is the 11 millimeter. We'll take a look at the 10 to 20 in just a second, because that does go a little bit wider. But in my opinion, I wish it had optical steady shot, or we get an APS-C camera or something with IBIS in it that gets improved, because it needs to be. It really does. The A6600 is fantastic. It's just not cutting it. It's like more like a vibration reduction, I guess, than like a Olympus or Panasonic level stabilization. It really needs prayer. It needs some for real prayer. So Sony sent you those lenses. Go ahead, Diana. They did, daggone it, kombucha. They did. God bless them. Hallelujah. So Sony did send these lenses over, and I'm grateful. I ain't gonna hold you. They sent I didn't do a video on the A7C because, to be honest, it's exactly what I said that it was, which was if you wanted to go full frame and you just didn't want to get the A6600 because it's APS-C, that's that camera. Other than that, the menu system minus like two or three things, which is like going from, full frame to APS-C crop mode or whatever, stuff like that. Stuff that you see in the ZV-E10, like product showcase mode, those kinds of things. Then at that point, those are the only minor or one extra line differences in the menu setup. Otherwise, it's the exact same. I could have copied and pasted the A6600 minus those couple pages and it would have been the same. But that's it. I can't get the Catalyst Browse site to come up. I probably could I have the program on the computer. I might could get that to come up, but that's about it. But check out Sony Catalyst Browse if you haven't tried it out. It's worth it to look at it. Let me just see if I can get the program to come up, and that might be a smidge more helpful. Need 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Saying first time seeing Diana live. Malcolm, Judd, good to see you, Judd. Glad that you're here. Shout out to Judd out here editing the footage. Judd works on the team, so appreciate you so much, Judd, and all the work that you do, because you, my brother, help keep the vision going. Don't know if you know, you help keep the vision going, and I so appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look at Catalyst Browse real quick. We can do this in Histon. All right. So we take a look at Catalyst Browse. Let me bring this in so y'all can really see the scope of the program for sure. Get Mr. Camera Junkie off the screen. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and make this full screen. We'll swap a few things out here just because I want you to see the full shindig. Not that. What even is this screen? That's not right. I need you to see. Oh, I think it's doing the program. 1 second. Here we go. So this is Catalyst Browse. When you first get over to Sony Catalyst Browse, this is what you're going to see. So if you are, change that to round, and move that right there. So if you're using Sony Catalyst Browse, this is what you're going to see for the first time. You'll see just like when you open up a folder or whatever on your computer. And then you do have your SD cards and the like that you could pull footage from. And so let's see, one of these should be M4 root. Okay, so I have to, let me see which one of my SD cards has the what's the name on it. Let me find some footage on here, and then we could play around with what Catalyst Browse has to offer. Take this one out, because one of these has it on here. From, I think, the shoot that we just did, unless I formatted the card, and at that point I apologize. But let me show you Sony Catalyst Browse, and maybe we can get it to work live and in color. And let's see here. Purple Paisley, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Definitely have my eye on the 11mm f1.8. It's a very nice lens. It's a very, very nice lens. The only thing with it, no stabilization. So you got to have a camera, which I know you'd have the ZV-E10s now. I know you found some, so that's always dope. Let's go here. This one should, just looking for a memory card that has some footage on here that we could use. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, I wasn't thinking to use Catalyst Browse today. Who has a memory card? I don't know. We may skip it, but you need a camera with the gyro data that can do it, like the ZV-1, ZV-E10, and then move on from there. A7C and the like. But if you have it, then you can use it. If I can find the card in time, I'll come back around to it. Then we'll take a look at it. Can you demo the 11 with clear image zoom? Of course. So this is the 11mm here. A little bit darker than what we were using. Let's switch here. Let's increase that just a smidge. All right, so clear image zoom. This is at, so that's 1.1, 1.2, 2 times right there. But you still have to back up some, so I think I'll be a little bit too close there. But this is at 2 times crop, and that's all the way back out to normal. So clear image zoom will still work. So you can go from here all the way in until it's uncomfortable. But clear image zoom, all that stuff still works on it. Difference with it is when you go into active stabilization. Now, if you have that in active, can you still zoom in 2 times? Yeah, but y'all about to get into eyeball autofocus in a minute, so that's still real close. You just don't have as much wiggle room. But can you still zoom all the way in? Yes, with clear image zoom. And then from active to the wide, and there's your look. Now we can probably switch over to the 10 to 20. What's going on, brother Doc Rock? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. And I'd be grateful as well. I can imagine the price of those puppies. These are coming fresh out the box. So a lot to be grateful for out here in these streets. Saying Sony IBIS is more for photography, in my opinion. For video, they're moving towards digital solutions rather than hardware. I slightly disagree. I don't fully disagree with you. I think where it is now, yes. But here's the thing. You would have to have tried the A1, the Sony A1 or the Sony A7S Mark III. Because in those newer cameras, even the A7 IV, Doc, he's in the chat now, he can tell you, those are fantastic. It's just that the existing sensor and stabilization that was in the A6600 or is not updated to what the newer cameras are at. So if that's what you were hoping for in the A6600, no. But the newer cameras, the Sony A7S Mark III, the A7 IV, A7C is not bad, but it's not as good as when I've tried the A7 IV or the A7S Mark III. And even the A1 when we were in New York. Those cameras are freaking fantastic. But if you're looking for stabilization in the older cameras, yeah, it's probably more so like more or less a vibration reduction at that point. That's why I'm hoping, we need another camera, another APS-C camera that has IBIS, because again, switch over to this 11mm f1.8, super duper wide. So if you had IBIS on this camera or a newer camera, it works well, which is why I think you're going to get the best bang for your buck for sure. If you have the A7 IV, A7S Mark III, any of those full frame cameras or A7C, and you want to vlog on those, but you didn't want to take a huge lens, this is your go-to now. This is your go-to. And I think that's a lot of who you'll see buying up these lenses. It's like, yeah, switch to 11mm f1.8. Why? It's low aperture, f1.8, nice blurry background, especially when you go outside and stuff like that. And then when you go ahead and you're traveling, it's really nice. But on the ZV-E10, it's even better because ZV-E10 is a light camera, light lens. Like I said, Kirk Nugent, saw him yesterday. It's a mess. And she's still tall shaming us with the biggie. Listen, let me explain something to you. You may enjoy carrying around a 4 and 5 pound setup for vlogging and traveling. I ain't about that life. So if you got the big old freaking monstrous hands like Doc do, 2 of my hands make up 1 of his, go for the gold. Go for the gold. May the Lord bless you and keep you always. But I ain't about that life. Okay. So it is what it is. Because I just don't do what people think it does in video mode. It's designed for photography. On the older cameras, yes. On the newer ones, different story. A7S Mark III, fantastic. A7 IV is not bad, but the A7 III is fantastic. Saying let's not forget cinema cameras don't have IBIS. Why? Because all of that stuff. But again, and I disagree. Rookies ain't trying to be pros per se. It's just that, again, from a content creator's perspective, which Doc, I know that you understand this, which again, you have to understand the extensive knowledge that Doc has when it comes into the cinema line stuff. So he's not just like berating folks in the chat or whatever. So don't take that opinion if you are. The thing is that when you're a content creator and you're coming from it from this approach, it's like, what do you need that's going to make things easier? Because to take all of the clips that you may not know, that especially if you don't vlog, if you've never tried vlogging before, you don't even have to be a vlogger. Let's get that out of the thing. There are different times when you're a content creator that you just want to capture a memory, speaking at an event, traveling, and you're getting to do like, what is his name? Peter Lindgren just did, or I don't know if he's still here in the States or whatever, but or was at some point, but he had just got this nice business first class thing where the seats lounge all the way down, and all kinds of nice stuff. He's documenting an experience. Now he created a vlog channel for him to have to capture all those different things. But when you look at something like that, you don't have to be a full-time daily vlogger. And I think those concepts, unless you want to, are kind of outdated in a sense, unless you want to. However, when you're doing something like, for me, last major event was a huge deal to go to San Diego and speak at Social Media Marketing World, or last year to go speak at People Video. It was my first time going to New York. And again, first time speaking at a brand new video conference event and getting to speak from the stage and stuff. That's a huge deal, especially like we coming out of COVID. So these are major moments in your life, in your business, that you want to capture moments or experiences. Or me and Louise got a chance to meet each other in person. And I got a chance to meet a lot of you all in person at that event. It was amazing. I would hate to only have those memories stuck up here and that's it. This is why my personal vlog channel exists. You don't hear me promote it a ton, but it's like at best, it's like maybe on the community tab or whatever sometimes, but it's like, it's for me. I want to capture my experiences so that it's not just up here. So if I want to travel and I have all this other stuff or I have other things on my mind, and you'll see most of the vlogs and stuff, it's like I'm here, it's documenting the experience of building my business, building my brand, dealing with the stage 4 endometriosis and all the other stuff that may not be as important to other people, and that's fine. This is why this is the primary channel, and you're only getting tech-based stuff or whatever over here. Over there, I can put these memories and things into life, breathe life into it. So vlogging, in a sense, is not just like, hey, look at me. It's more so like for some people, and especially like I say for me, capturing those experiences. So if I want to carry a heavy lens around, it better be doing something like that 70 to 200. I'll never complain about the weight of that one. It's a fantastic lens, but to each his own. Let's switch over. We've been on this one for a minute. Let's switch over to the 10 to 20 lens. We're going to go switch to the 35 real quick and pop this one off. But the 11 millimeter, I think of the three, this is the first one that I'm going to probably grab. I think this is an awesome lens that anybody can find really great use in their setup. Literally. Let's take a look, y'all, at this 10 to 20. And shut up, Doc Rock. I know you're probably already joking like, oh, you can't reach the camera. I moved it closer on purpose. All right. So I could reach it. Hater. I already know in your mind, in your heart, you're thinking hatred. All right. So real quick, this is now at the 10 to 20 G Master F4. So when you go from f1.8, all the settings being the same, you can see how much of a darker image that it is. Right now, we're currently at ISO 200 and at f4. So we need to increase the ISO at this point to bring it back up to where we previously were. And so I'm gonna drop that down a smidge. So now we at ISO 800 on this one. So, you know, it is what it is. What's up, PT? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Don't know if I caught your comment earlier. So now it's 10 to 20, and this one has the power zoom on it. So we can go from 10 all the way to 20, and then even further with clear image zoom. So this is at the 2x crops all the way with clear image zoom, which is a lot. And then if we bring that out right there, maybe a smidge more. Now that's at the 18. So 10 to 18, now we zoom in all the way back to 10. It's a very wide lens. And you can see you turn just teensy small. Eye autofocus, all of that stuff still works on these lenses. It's fantastic. So, you know, to each their own. If this is up for what you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to fly it on the gimbal, let's put product showcase mode on real quick. And we will take our 11 millimeter and see how close we can get. About there. So not quite as close. Trying to see where does the font become clear. So it's not as close as the other one. You see you start to lose it there. So minimum focusing distance is not as close as the other one for this one here. But this is the 15, excuse me, not the 11. This is the 15. So if we move this in closer, that's really close. So about here, that's still really, really close for minimum focusing distance. So again, how close can you hold this to your face? Even if you are using active, let's turn that on. So we're going from no stabilization to active stabilization, and it's still very, very, very wide. So honestly, this ain't too shabby, in my opinion. This honestly looks really, really good. So when you swap over to this one, yeah, you can still use the power zoom, all that stuff still works. The button still works. All those things still work out for you. So this is now taking that to 18, 19. Yeah, we somewhere about there. Almost. Okay. Right there. So it's bringing in about 19 millimeters, 20 millimeters. Then you can go even wider and go back to 10 or go all the way back into clear image zoom. And that's very close. Yeah, for this to be wide and get like super close to the lens, like it's, this one, like I said, it has 0.15. This one has a 0.12. So this one gets close like this 11 millimeter does. Right. You can still see the font. Yeah, that's really close for a minimum focusing distance. On the old one, it's not as close on the original 10 to 20. So let's see here, Mr. Camera Junkie's asking, how much time does the Catalyst browse add to the editing workflow? I think it depends on how much you like, how many clips you need to do and how many, like how long those clips are. So if you have, let's say 10 or 15 clips and each one of those are like 5 or 10 minute clips or something like that. I don't know. And again, like even if you're vlogging or capturing footage or whatever, it really doesn't range longer than like 2, maybe 3 minute spans at a time. Most of mine are usually between 1 and 2 minutes. And what I'll usually do is just cut down to what I need. But most of the time it's not, it's just the actual file pulled from the SD card and then brought over. It doesn't take long. Honestly, it doesn't take long at all. So I think I had, let me see if I can find it real quick. Because I did want to show the Catalyst browse, but I don't remember which of my SD cards had the footage on there that we actually could use for it. But I'll see what I can find real quick. But it don't take long. If most of your clips are like 1 minute to 3 minutes, it's not a huge thing. It's just a matter of if you have a lot of those clips. So this one might work. I think this has some vlog clip footage on it. Let's see here. Yeah, this one does. So we'll swap over to take a look at the, what's the name of, so y'all can see what Catalyst browse looks like. So when you go over here, you find your SD card. Should be this one for me. And then the private folder, then the M4 root is what should have the list of clips that you have. And you can play these straight out of Catalyst browse. You don't have to really do anything. Straight out of Catalyst browse. So these are like a bunch of vlog clips, and I think some of those from when I was outside or whatever. Let's see here. I think, yeah, but the ones that you'll see that it has gyro data for, like this 12 gigabyte file for no, I can't see like for a 16-minute clip or something like that. I can't see me using that one for Catalyst browse. Let me, if I can move this over some so y'all can see. Maybe not. Let's go here. Start time is not really that important to me. So yeah, so you can see like for regular videos and stuff that we did, it was like a vertical video or something like that, or a short that I wanted to do. And then this one is like outside. So this one is like maybe a 10-second clip, and this one has gyro data, and you would know because it has this little bubble. So that means either it was recorded with no stabilization on, or active stabilization was on at that point. What you do at that point is go to right click and then stabilize clip, and then it'll go through and it'll stabilize it for you. Again, how long that process takes, like this one is still loading right now because I'm streaming, and so probably putting a bunch of stress on the computer just because this is not an M1 computer. So if you're doing Catalyst browse at this point, you can decide what you want to do. This one's taking a minute, but if you go over here, move y'all over to the top right. If you take a look at this clip right here, or this area, this is where the stabilization comes in handy. So you can leave it in auto and it'll decide what's what with it, or you can go over here to manual and decide what the cropping ratio is going to be. That line is where it's decided that it should be, but you also are impacting the resolution of the clip. So all the way, especially if you're using 1080p, this is why it's important. If you're going to do something, that's a vlog clip, so I don't care that it's at 1080p, you're cropping it on the resolution, and now you're bringing that down. So if I left it there, that's no longer a 1080p clip. Is less than a 720p HD clip at that point. Are you going to lose any quality? Slightly, because you're cropping in. But again, like I said, if you're doing a regular video, you're going to want to bring that down to, or bring that up to a 4K footage. So when you do the crop, then you're not losing as much. So you can adjust it for how much that cropping ratio is going to be. But the auto, if you let it do it, it'll be about 25% or so. And then you can adjust what that'll be, but you can't go less than that. So I can't get it to go with Ecamm running at the same time on my personal computer, just because it ain't set up for that. But more or less, that's Catalyst Browse, like in a nutshell. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't take that much longer to make it work, honestly. And without Ecamm running and Google Chrome and my 37,000 internet tabs that are also running at the same time, once you have it like just that doing with Final Cut Pro, it doesn't take long. I think I did like 6 or 7 clips back to back, and it was cool. It was no big deal. It's like, it didn't take a long time to do. Now, if you have a lot of stuff to do, like again, 15, 20 clips or whatever from a trip, it probably is going to eat into it. You probably, honestly, would probably set it to go stabilize those clips and go have dinner or go take a bath or something like that, and then come back and grab your stuff. Kind of like if you needed to incorporate like a proxy workflow or something like that. Saying thank you. That's mostly what I wanted to know. We'll wait on your full video. Appreciate that, brother. Looking at the lens, but this is pretty much it. This is the trio of lenses. Honestly, they did a good job with these. The only difference is, do you already have some of these existing lenses, or do you want to go ahead and rock with something else? That if price is the issue, these are already fairly well priced considering some of the other stuff. Again, the biggest home runs with these, you got G lenses with the buttons on the side, Aperture Ring for the win on this 15, because that's not something you see on the Sigma 16. And then these are tiny, super duper small. So I'm not going to extend this stream out any longer, because again, I didn't say it was going to be quick, but we're getting closer. We got it pretty much quick today. So any last questions real quick on the lenses? Anything y'all want to specifically see that we didn't show in the stream thus far? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up and call it a day for this particular stream. But we will have extra videos coming out on each individual lens, trying those out with, so you can see what it looks like with Catalyst Browse, what it looks like with stabilization on the A6600. I don't have the A7 IV in the office any longer. I had to send that back, so I can't test what that would be or whatever the case is. So, you know, it is what it is on that one there. So, all right, but that's where we're gonna leave it for this particular live stream. Thanks for coming to check out these different lenses. If you have questions, if you're watching this on the replay, thanks for being here. If you're live, thanks for being here. Make sure you leave your comment down below, and I will respond to those with any questions if I have that information or not, or let you know it's coming out in an upcoming video. Oh, just almost missed it. Nick asking. I'm cracking up over. I got a 9-year-old here, and he looks at you on the screen and says, "I like her. She sounds nice," and looks at me with a mild why smile. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I would venture to say I am quite nice. Luis can attest to that. And so, but if y'all are going to be in People of Video, if you haven't registered for your tickets already, I'm speaking again this year at People of Video. It's in September, so put those on the calendar. Dean saying, thank you, I appreciate you.